the fragile peace. The stars above Earth shone brighter than they had in decades. For the first time in living memory, the people of Earth celebrated not a battle won, but a peace declared. The Velthari Dominion, the oldest and most powerful alien empire in the known galaxy, had signed a peace and cooperation treaty with humanity. The images were everywhere, broadcasts of Velthari diplomats, tall and serpentine in form, shaking hands with human leaders. News channels looped footage of celebration in cities across Earth and its colonies. The war was over, but not everyone believed it. In the command center of Earth's orbital fortress Aegis 1, Admiral Helena Voss stood alone before a vast viewport, her hands clasped behind her back. Beyond the reinforced glass, the blue curve of Earth drifted serenely in the void. It was beautiful, but beauty, she knew, could be the perfect camouflage for danger. "Admiral," came the voice of Captain Elias Ward, stepping into the room with quiet urgency. "The latest scans from Tau 7 are in." Voss turned. She was a tall woman with steel-gray hair tied in a no-nonsense braid, her sharp eyes betraying years of hard-won experience. She nodded, and Ward handed her the datapad. The moment her eyes scanned the report, she felt her stomach twist. "Unmarked energy signatures," Ward said grimly. "Massive, hidden behind asteroid fields. It's not pirates." "Velthari," Voss whispered. There was no doubt. The Velthari Dominion had signed a peace treaty with broad smiles and gracious words. But they were still moving fleets in deep space, still building. Ward hesitated before speaking again. "We're sure about this, ma'am? If we act on this without proof." "I don't need proof," Voss snapped, her voice sharp as ice. "I need preparation." Ward said nothing. He, too, had long harbored doubts about the Velthari. Every human officer who had faced them in combat knew what the Dominion was truly like: ruthless, expansionist, and utterly convinced of their own superiority. The peace was too convenient, too sudden. The Velthari had gained too little and given too much. But the politicians back on Earth wanted to believe. They wanted an end to the fear, the drain on economies, the endless arms race. "They think we're naive," Voss continued, her voice lowering. "But we're not. Every species the Velthari treated with in the past either vanished or became slaves in all but name. They don't respect words. They respect power." She moved to the holodeble and activated it. The system map of the Sol sector sprang to life, glowing in soft blue and red hues. Hidden markers, human assets the Velthari didn't know about, appeared on the map. "Project Phantom Division is still operational?" she asked. Ward nodded. "Fully manned and hidden. We never stood them down, per your orders." "Good. We'll maintain full readiness." Quietly. No public mobilization. "I want Black Ops teams running intel sweeps on every colony world. Prepare stealth recon on Tau 7. Ward straightened. "Permission to lead that mission myself, Admiral?" She looked at him for a long moment, then gave a nod. "Granted. Take Raptor Squadron. And Ward, keep it dark. If the Velthari are baiting us, I want them to think we're asleep." As Ward left, Voss returned her gaze to the viewport. The people below celebrated, as they should, but she could not afford the luxury of peace. Her mind wandered back to the history books, Earth's own wars, its endless cycles of conflict and betrayal. Humanity had survived because it adapted, because it prepared for the worst even when it prayed for the best. The Velthari would strike. She could feel it in her bones. It wasn't paranoia. It was instinct. And when they came, humanity would be ready. Far across the void, near the silent rocks of Tau 7, ships cloaked in gravimetric shrouds drifted without lights or signal. Their hulls bore the serpent sigil of the Velthari Dominion. In their holds, weapons of annihilation sat in cold silence, awaiting only the command to awaken. The peace was a lie, and humanity had always suspected. The first betrayal. The mission to Tau 7 was supposed to be a routine reconnaissance, covert, careful, and above all, quiet. Captain Elias Ward stood the command deck of the HSS Nightingale, his hands gripping the railing as the starfield drifted silently around them. His ship, a state-of-the-art stealth frigate, was built for this kind of work, invisible to most sensors, equipped with next-gen quantum cloaking. But even so, the tension in the air was suffocating. "Signal anomaly detected," murmured Lieutenant Kira Chun, her fingers flying over her console. "Bearing 015. Multiple sources. Power signatures, they're enormous." Ward's jaw tightened. "Visual. Now." A holographic image snapped into focus above the table. Against the dark velvet of space, a fleet materialized. Velthari warships, dozens of them, lurking in the asteroid shadows like sharks beneath the waves. Battlecruisers, siege platforms, carrier vessels, ships far too numerous and heavily armed for any legal operation under the so-called peace treaty. "Mother of God," someone whispered. Ward's voice was ice. "Record everything. Maximum passive scan. We need to get this intel back to Aegis 1. But even as he spoke, the screen flickered. Red icons flared. "Sir, enemy active scan." Chun began, but she didn't finish. The Nightingale shuddered violently as a Velthari hunter-killer drone locked on and fired. The stealth field buckled. Explosions lit the darkness as warning klaxons blared through the ship. "Evasive," Ward shouted, slamming his fist onto the comms. "All hands, emergency maneuvers. We're compromised." In the chaos that followed, the Nightingale weaved between asteroids as lances of plasma fire cut through the void. The Velthari moved with terrifying coordination, their ambush swift and ruthless. Ward's pilot, a young ace named Marin Cross, pulled off near-impossible maneuvers, but the ship took hits, hull breaches, power fluctuations. "Engineering reports critical damage," Chun barked, "but FDL is still online, barely." Ward mind raced. If they died here, no one would know. Humanity would be caught unprepared. "Punch the drive," he ordered. "Get us home." With a final lurch, the Nightingale vanished into hyperspace, leaving the enemy behind. Hours later, battered but alive, Ward stood before Admiral Helena Voss in the secure war room of Aegis 1. The data from the Nightingale had been fully analyzed. The hologram before them painted a grim picture. The Velthari fleet was not just assembling. It was preparing for a full-scale first strike on Earth colonies, starting with New Eden and Luna Station. "Estimated time to assault?" Voss asked, her voice cold steel. 72 hours, Ward replied. "Maybe less." Voss exhaled slowly. Then the treaty was never real. It was the confirmation she had dreaded, but expected. The Velthari had used the peace to lower humanity's guard, to gain diplomatic cover while they maneuvered for a killing blow. "Weapons readiness?" she asked. "Phantom Division is green," answered General Marcus Hale via secure link. "Our deep space arsenals were never stood down. Covert drone swarms are already being positioned around Luna and New Eden, and the defense network. Operational," Hale nodded. "We can't stop the initial assault, but we can make them bleed." Voss allowed herself the smallest nod. The centuries-old instinct of human survival, never trust the hand that offers peace without reason, had saved them. Quietly, against political orders, she had kept Earth's defenses hidden, experimental weapons tested, warships mothballed but not destroyed. "They'll strike hard and fast," Voss murmured. "They think we're soft. We'll remind them what humanity is made of." She turned to Ward. "Captain, you've done good work. I'm giving you field command of New Eden's orbital defense. You'll hold the line until the Phantom Division arrives." Ward's eyes widened slightly, but he straightened, nodding sharply. "Yes, ma'am." 2 days later, the sky over New Eden burned. The Velthari fleets descended without warning, just as predicted. Plasma bombardments tore through civilian habitats. Orbital platforms exploded into fire and debris. The alien ships, sleek, monstrous things of living metal, cut through the void like reapers. But instead of panic and helplessness, they met something else: organized resistance. Human warships, hidden bunkers, anti-ship railguns, and stealth drones emerged from shadows the Velthari never knew existed. Captain Ward, at the helm of the battlecruiser HSS Valor, led the counterattack, his voice calm but fierce as he issued orders. "Target their command vessel. Bring the gravitic cannon online. No mercy. The first Velthari cruiser shattered under fire. The betrayal had come, and so had humanity's reply. Humanity fights back. The vacuum of space above New Eden blazed with fire and wreckage. Velthari warships, sleek, silver monstrosities, littered the orbital battlefield, torn open by weapons they had never anticipated. Human forces, once thought soft and primitive by the Dominion's high command, were not only resisting, they were winning. Captain Elias Ward stood firm on the bridge of the HSS Valor, sweat clinging to his brow as his crew executed commands with ruthless precision. The Phantom Division, humanity's secret ace, had arrived on silent wings, their stealth cruisers unleashing volleys of plasma, railgun slugs, and gravitic warheads. Enemy command vessel decloaking, called Lieutenant Kira Chun, her voice tight. They're bringing in their dreadnought. Ward's eyes narrowed as the massive alien warship came into view, over 3 kilometers long, bristling with energy weapons. It dwarfed the human fleet. "Signal Admiral Voss," Ward ordered. "Tell her the Velthari are throwing everything they have at New Eden." The transmission pulsed across space, even as explosions rocked the Valor. Far above, aboard Aegis 1 in Earth orbit, Admiral Helena Voss took the report with grim calm. The Battle of New Eden had become the focal point of the war's opening phase. Lose there, and the colonies would fall one by one. Win, and humanity might seize the initiative. Mobilize the Titan-class platforms, Voss commanded, and activate Blackout Protocol. No more half measures. Her officers hesitated. Blackout Protocol was a last resort command. It severed Earth's military AI systems from civilian oversight, giving full control to military command to act without delay, without political interference. Voss's voice hardened. "Do it." As orders rippled outward, the full weight of humanity's hidden arsenal came online. Orbital railgun platforms, once disguised as derelicts, powered up. Quantum jammers disabled Velthari communication links. Swarms of autonomous predator drones, designed in secret, launched from concealed bases on the lunar dark side. Back at New Eden, Ward watched as humanity's hidden strength unfolded. Velthari ships reeled in confusion. Without coordination, their once deadly precision faltered. Several smaller cruisers were vaporized as gravitic torpedoes detonated directly within their energy shields, technology the Velthari believed humans had mastered. "Status on the dreadnought?" Ward demanded. "Shields weakening," Chen reported, scanning rapidly. "We've isolated a structural flaw near the core reactor." Ward made a decision. "Bring the Valor in close. All 4 batteries. Prepare the Thor Lance." The Thor Lance was one of Earth's deadliest secrets, a kinetic strike weapon powered by quantum singularity ignition. The shot would tear through any armor if they could get close enough. The Valor surged forward through a storm of plasma fire. Explosions blossomed around them as the crew held their breath. They were outgunned, outmassed, but not outwilled. "Target locked," Chun said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Fire," Ward ordered. A beam of brilliant white lanced out. The impact split the Velthari dreadnought's belly, igniting its core. The ship detonated in a blinding inferno, debris scattering across space. A cheer erupted on the Valor's bridge. Ward exhaled deeply but didn't allow himself to celebrate. "Signal to all forces, press the advantage. No retreat." Elsewhere in the solar system, humanity's other strongholds followed suit. On Luna, railgun towers hidden beneath cratered surfaces emerged, firing rounds at incoming Velthari strike groups. Around Mars, ancient orbital platforms, thought obsolete by the galaxy, reactivated and destroyed alien craft with terrifying efficiency. For the first time in centuries of Velthari expansion, an enemy was not only resisting, but adapting faster than they could react. The Velthari High Command, observing from their distant citadels, was in disarray. Their scholars had written humanity off as young, short-lived, too fractured to pose a real threat. But human unpredictability, what they had dismissed as chaos, had become their greatest weapon. Admiral Voss knew this well. They never understood, she murmured to her inner circle. We've spent millennia fighting ourselves. Every war, every betrayal, every hardship, it all made us into this. Survivors. She turned to her generals. We hold, and then we strike back. The first major battle of the war ended 3 days later. Humanity, though bloodied, stood victorious. New Eden was saved. The Velthari Armada, crippled and humiliated, withdrew to regroup. The price was steep. Thousands dead, cities damaged, entire orbital habitats destroyed. But the message was clear. The peace had been a lie. But humanity had never been naive. And now, the Velthari would learn what it meant to awaken a species that refused to kneel. The price of vigilance. The battle was over, but the war had just begun. From orbit, the colony world of New Eden looked scarred and battered. Whole districts burned. The broken husks of space stations drifted lifelessly, lit by the cold glare of distant suns. Yet amidst the ruin, human ships still held position, scarred but alive. Captain Elias Ward stood at the observation deck of the HSS Valor, his uniform torn, face bruised, but his eyes sharp. Around him, medics tended to wounded crew. Engineers moved through smoke-filled corridors. The cost of victory was written on every face. A soft chime sounded. The image of Admiral Helena Voss flickered to life before him. She looked as worn as he felt. New Eden held, Ward reported quietly. Voss nodded. Because you were ready. Because we were ready. Her words carried a weight far beyond simple praise. Humanity's survival had hinged on a gamble, on distrust, suspicion, and hidden strength. And that suspicion had been right. Ward's jaw tightened. The Velthari won't stop here. This was just the first blow. Agreed, Voss said. They underestimated us. They won't make that mistake again. She sighed, her expression hardening into the cold mask of command. We've intercepted their fleet transmissions. The Velthari weren't just planning conquest. They intended eradication, biological cleansing. They see us as a threat to their genetic purity. Ward's blood ran cold. They were going to wipe us out. Yes, Voss said flatly, down to the last child. The room fell into silence. It no longer mattered whether the peace had ever been sincere. The war had become existential. For humanity, it was now a fight not for territory, not for politics, but for the very right to exist. Hours later, the War Council convened in the deep vaults beneath Aegis I. Generals, intelligence chiefs, cybernetics specialists, every surviving branch of Earth's shadow war machine gathered under one banner. The room buzzed with tension as holograms of the Velthari fleet deployments lit up the air above the table. The Dominion will regroup, warned General Marcus Hale. We estimate full-scale retaliation within months, perhaps weeks. We can't rely on defense alone, added Director Imani Sato, head of planetary intelligence. We must consider preemptive action, strategic strikes. Voss surveyed the faces before her. The old world died the day we signed that treaty. We won't survive another lie. She raised her hand, activating a new display. Classified black projects long buried by political treaties and public denials. Operation Iron Horizon, she said. It's time. Iron Horizon was humanity's last resort. A countermeasure built in secret over decades. Hypersonic planetary missiles, AI-controlled swarms, and a weapon system so classified only a handful of people on Earth had ever seen its schematics. The room shifted. Some officers hesitated. Preemptive war means escalation, Hale warned. We could bring the entire Velthari Empire down on us. Voss's eyes were cold. They're coming anyway. The only question is whether we fight on our terms or die on theirs. After a long silence, one by one, heads nodded. The decision sent ripples through every corner of human space. Secret manufacturing centers accelerated. Sleeper ships, vessels designed for deep space sabotage, were launched in total radio silence. Earth's digital infrastructure shifted overnight, moving into hardened war state protocols. Civilians were told little. The official broadcast spoke of containment and defensive preparedness, but those within the Shadow Network knew the truth. Humanity was going to war. But this time, it would be humanity's war, fought by a species that refused to play by alien rules. In the cold emptiness between stars, the Velthari Dominion gathered its forces. Massive invasion fleets formed, their commanders seething with rage and humiliation. They spoke in dark tones of purging humanity from the galactic map. What they didn't know, what they couldn't comprehend, was that the very nature of humanity defied their understanding. The Dominion believed in order, in hierarchy, in predictable obedience. Humans believed in survival at any cost. As the final hours of uneasy calm ticked by, Captain Ward stood once more before the viewport of the Valor, staring into the endless dark. "They thought the treaty made us weak," he murmured. "They forgot we've been betrayed before." The stars stretched out before him, cold, vast, uncaring. But for the first time, the Velthari would come to fear them, because humanity had awakened, and humanity remembered.